is 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trailblazers return to action tonight against the Timberwolves. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins at 4:30 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. The buck stops with the defensive coordinators. Kyle Shanahan has fired Steve Wilks after one season. So Wilks out as defensive coordinator of the 49ers. And in odd NBA news, Detroit Pistons forward and former Washington Husky. Let me reiterate. Former Washington Husky Isaiah Stewart punched Phoenix's Drew Eubanks, Troutdale's own Drew Eubanks, in the arena in the tunnel pregame. Stewart was arrested and released on assault charges, while Eubanks went on to play in the Phoenix win. Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report is going to be joining us in hour number 3. Football, basketball, odd food news. It's a Thursday, and it's Rip City Mornings, and it starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. And a very happy Thursday. It is RCM. I am your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brenden is safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us. We're staying up late. However you are rolling on this particular Thursday. We got a lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. Hope you are seatbelted in, locked in, hunkered down, and ready, because I think because of what is going on with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we are now in the midst of another dynasty, and a dynasty that was essentially created by hitting a home run in the draft with Patrick Mahomes, that if the quarterback position was not already the most valuable position in all of sports, it is about to be shot to the moon. Because I look at the landscape in the offseason for a lot of NFL teams, and there used to be, and I don't know if it still is, this is the thing that I think may ultimately change, but there used to be kind of a thought process of, if you've got a quarterback, a competent quarterback, you don't let that quarterback go. Because the risk versus the reward of rolling the dice and taking a chance was always a bit skewed. Hey, we got a quarterback we kind of like. We know he's competent. We know he can get us wins. Heck, we know he can get us to the playoffs. Well, that's all well and good, unless there's Superman over there in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform. And then it's about, taking down the Brenden, you're a video games guy. You got to take down the boss at the end of the level. Like, that's Patrick Mahomes. It was Tom Brady and the Patriot dynasty for a long, long time. And you had to have Peyton Manning. You had to have Eli Manning. Yeah, every once in a while there was a Nick Foles, kind of out of nowhere. But you had to have, like, peak Russell Wilson. So I'm looking at a lot of quarterback movement. And is there going to be a team? Is there going to be a team, especially in the AFC, that's going to look at their situation and be like, all right, we like our guy, but I don't see taking down Kansas City with this guy. In particular, my favorite team with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know they're in the NFC, but the Seattle Seahawks are going to have, I think, a decision to make before tomorrow, because Geno Smith's a good chunk of his contract becomes fully guaranteed, and there's a whole economics part of that I don't quite understand. But are the Seahawks going to be making a move? Now they have a new coach, new offensive coordinator. That offensive coordinator seems to be very familiar with the quarterback that is going to be available in the draft here pretty soon. The city of Seattle is going to be very curious as to what happens with Mike McDonald, new offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, his relationship with Michael Penix, what's going on with Geno Smith, all of that. Do they draft Penix and say, hey, Geno, you got one more year, and then we have drafted your successor? And speaking of Seattle, there is still that Russell Wilson thing just kind of hanging out there. But quarterback has always been the defining position. But I think there are going to be teams more and more willing to risk it to get the biscuit, if you know what I'm saying. Because there was a long, long time of, hey, all right, and I don't want to throw shots at this guy. It's going to be mean-spirited, but, there were a lot of Phillip Rivers, Jay Cutlers, those guys who were like, good quarterback, good guy in the organization, not a bad thing, but not really superstar level. Kirk Cousins, I think, comes to mind, right? Don't want to throw shots at Kirk Cousins, but like a guy that is going to show up, is going to be prepared, is going to make all the right decisions, but ultimately lacks that it factor, that dynamic factor that you cannot put your finger on. And now there's going to be a lot of organizations that I think are going to be willing to roll the dice to try to find that particular fit, that particular quarterback. So we're going to dive into that coming up in a bit. Odd scene before the Phoenix-Detroit game as Troutdale's own Drew Eubanks got, according to him, now we'll find out because, look, there's cameras everywhere. All right, it's 2024. I have a hard time believing at Footprint Arena, which we looked up before the game, at Footprint Arena, that there is not cameras everywhere, and there's also apparently eyewitnesses. So we're going to find out. But pregame kerfuffle between Isaiah Stewart and Drew Eubanks in Phoenix led to a punch in the face. That punch in the face led to an arrest. I think ultimately it's going to be like charges are dropped and moving forward. The league may come in with some discipline. And does that even really matter? Because the Detroit Pistons are awful, but probably get a fine or something. But I can't wait. I can't wait to get the video footage because it's coming. Because if that was in Phoenix's arena, they're the ones that are going to be in charge of the tape. Now, conspiracy theory, and I think it's well documented on this program. I love Drew Eubanks. Love Drew Eubanks. Shout out to Troutdale and the outlet stores, right? If we don't see the video of this altercation, I'm going to go conspiracy theory going like, is Phoenix trying to hide something here? But I don't think they are. But we're definitely going to see a video. They got video of everything. And speaking of video, the argument, and not the argument, but the discussion, the hot takes, the opinions on what Kyle Shanahan did during the overtime period is continuing on because now we got audio. We got audio from the sidelines of Shanahan telling his team we want the ball. We got audio from the Chiefs sideline of them discussing before the coin flip. Patrick Mahomes going like, all right, we're going to go second. If we win, and then Patrick Mahomes coming off the field with the great capture by NFL Films and the Chiefs sidelines, getting a little bit pumped up and excited. And, of course, there is the video of Juszczyk going like, so if we score, we don't win? I didn't know that. And let me tell you, it takes one big-time, massive, and who knows whether it was a mistake or not. Right, this is super easy in hindsight. It makes it super clear and clarity in hindsight to look back and be like, yep, should have taken the ball second. Well, what happens if Patrick Mahomes marches down the field, scores, you get the ball, they stop you? Now, you would have known you had the ability to go for it on fourth down, but, the 49ers march all the way down the field. Chris Jones got into Brock Purdy's face. It would have been if you reverse the roles instead of kicking the field goal that the 49ers kicked, it would have been one play for the 49ers to win the Super, and they might not have even won it then. And then, with the hot takes becoming, it's like, why would they take the ball second? Why would you put yourself in an automatic deficit? You just saw Patrick Mahomes at the end of regulation just march right down the field on your defense. Why would you put the defense in that position? But I'll tell you right now, what I know, Every other coach and every other player in the NFL, from the time mandatory minicamps start and organized team activities, and especially into training camp, guess what? There will be meetings upon meetings upon meetings about the overtime rules. And there will be analytics, and there will be numbers, and there will be equations, and there will be all sorts of stuff. So we may dive into that today. And we've got some food news as well regarding a local delicacy that may be on the way back that I am super pumped up about. So there we go. That's what we have got on tap for the big show. Look, I'm gonna take 90 seconds right here. Obviously, there was a tragedy in Kansas City yesterday. There's no easy transition to do this. Didn't feel like I wanted to do the entire opening of the show. Here's what I am going to say. You guys come to this show because we are goofballs. And I take my goofiness seriously. I have my thoughts and my opinions on serious subjects, but I don't feel like they are important enough to share with all of you because I have got a microphone. Know what you know and know what you don't know. I don't know the answers. How to fix what happened in Kansas City yesterday. I don't have the answers. But here's what I know. And I'm going to hopefully throw this out there. I talk about this a lot on this particular show about how I have made my decision, the way I'm going to help the world of the internet, of I'm not going to get in internet fights, to social media, because social media is it's a dark, dark place. Now, I don't know how to fix what happened in Kansas City yesterday. I'm just a sports talk show host. I have my opinions that I will tell my family and my friends, but as far as sitting up on my soapbox and preaching to all of you, that's not going to get anything done. But here's what I know is not going to work. Guaranteed 100%. I don't know how to fix it, but I guarantee you I know how we won't fix this problem. Arguing with each other on the internet is not going to fix anything. Coming together, compromising, giving a little, understanding that there is an ultimate goal of a better place that we live in, that could work. But arguing and yelling with each other on the internet, the same tired arguments, both sides, not going to solve anything. All right. Said what I needed to say. Moving on, moving forward. And we're going to talk quarterbacks and football because this is a quarterbacks and football show. It's also a goofy show about food and the NBA. And let's hope the Blazers don't let Anthony Edwards drop a 40 burger on the Blazers tonight. All right, more Rip City Mornings coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, so yesterday was Valentine's Day. Hopefully, you all had a fantastic, lovely, beautiful Valentine's Day. Hopefully, you took care of the significant other in your life, and if you are the significant other and they maybe forgot the flowers, it's okay. Got a lot of stuff. I saw because there's a lot of thoughts about Valentine's Day. First off, shame on me. We went the entire show yesterday. Did not wish happy birthday to our great state. Great state of Oregon. 165, baby. Still kicking out there. But Valentine's Day brings out a lot of emotions. Not always loving emotions, right? Not always does Valentine's Day make you think of, how much love that you were in. It might think about what you're missing out there. And in my younger days, there was a theory. It's the breakup window. Brenden, are you familiar with the breakup window?
Is that if you break up within a certain window, there's a chance you can get back together?
Nope, but we could talk about that.
Okay.
There is on the calendar, and this is mostly for young people, but there is on the calendar essentially a window of time, usually starting about Thanksgiving through Valentine's Day, where you're like, you can't break up. You can't. If you are with someone and it is getting to be, late October, early November, and you're not feeling it, you have to get out before Thanksgiving because you go to family Thanksgiving, can't break up then. Then Christmas is on the way. You've already bought gifts. They might have already bought gifts. Can't break up then. New Year's? Nope. What a jerk. You break up before New Year's, leave someone without someone to kiss at midnight, and then ultimately there's Valentine's Day, which is the end of the breakup window. Now,
interestingly enough, Justin, I actually know a couple that broke up in the last 2 weeks. So
thoughts and prayers.
And it wasn't long, like 5.5, 6 months. But
still,
now
that's that window.
Now that you bring up that timeline, I'm like, oh, yeah, they broke up like a week and a half before Valentine's Day. Ouch.
Exactly.
So, yeah, just it came to mind.
But you get to Thanksgiving, and you're like, all right, we're hunkered down. We got to get through Thanksgiving. We got to get through Christmas. You got to get through New Year's. And even through, and then once Thanksgiving or once Valentine's Day comes and goes like it did yesterday, well, then you look out ahead and go like, oh, boy, are we going to make it to the summer? And obviously, especially here in the great state of Oregon, it's a little cold, wet, and dark for the next couple of weeks and or months. And I think this is where a lot of breakups happen. A lot of holiday stress and just the looking out over the prospect of a new year. Valentine's Day came and went. Maybe it wasn't what you thought it was. And I believe that we are now exiting the non-breakup window from Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day, and I think we're going to see a lot of people breaking up. Why do I bring this up? Like I mentioned at the top of the show, with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce seemingly in the midst of a dynasty, there are going to be some teams that I think are going to have to break up with their quarterbacks. And now that we are past the breakup window, heading into the offseason, because just like in a relationship, especially early on in your life, because, you go away to college and you come back for Thanksgiving and it's like, boom, Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year's, you're home. And then usually it's Valentine's Day when you're like, you go back to school and all of a sudden it's like, boy, I'm really not feeling it. And Valentine's Day happens and then the breakup window hits. So we're now in it. So we're going to go through some of these teams and wonder, in the offseason, is a breakup coming? Is a breakup on the way? Because while you might be thinking, well, most of these situations are pretty set in stone. Yeah, some are, but I think, remember a couple of years ago when the Los Angeles Rams were like, Jared Goff ain't it. That's the breakup window. He went to the Super Bowl, for crying out loud. Jared Goff did, as a quarterback. And the Rams were like, This ain't it. We got to break up. We're moving on, moving forward. And they went out and they got Matthew Stafford. They won a Super Bowl. So let's go through. The relationships are either rock solid, a little rocky, or single and ready to mingle. Those are my 3 tiers that I just created off the top of my head right now. Baltimore Ravens, rock solid. They're not going anywhere. Between Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Texans. Boom. In the AFC, they're all good. They're all good. Cleveland Browns. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns real quick. The Cleveland, if we're going to continue with this weird relationship analogy, which I feel like is going really well. Cleveland Browns are like, I think they want to break up, but they were dumb and early on bought a house together or like have an apartment with like a 3-year lease or a 4-year lease. And it's like,
they can't move off him. It's impossible this year.
You're young. Like, again, all of my friends are married now. But I'm sure somebody in their 20s, like, hey, we're moving in together. And you're like, that is a mistake. You should definitely not do that and definitely not sign a long-term lease. Definitely don't buy anything together. That's what the Cleveland Browns are. Cleveland Browns are like, hey, it's great. Let's buy a condo together. It's like, this is a mistake. Have you guys gone over what happens? We're never breaking up. So Cleveland is stuck. They're going to try every single year. We're going to make it work. We're going to go away. We're going to try it. Maybe we'll try some counseling. I don't know. But we're going to make it work. But they bought a house together way too soon. So financially, Cleveland's stuck. Now, Cincinnati Bengals, they're rock solid. They're fine. Rest of the AFC, I would say Jacksonville, rock solid. For now. How about the Miami Dolphins? Now, I would think the way that Miami played this year, they were 11-6 in the regular season, and at one point in time, I think we were like, are the Dolphins the best team in the NFL? Because there was a point in the NFL season where the Dolphins were the best team in the NFL. Brenden, are there some Dolphins players, fans, coaches who are like, I don't know if Tua's our guy? Like, is that creeping? It's unfair, but you know what? All these conversations we're about to have, except for some teams, these are all unfair conversations. Is Tua our guy? Obviously, since Mike McDaniel showed up there in Miami, Tua has gotten massively better. And we talked about it over and over again of like, hey, see what happens when you actually support your quarterback and say you are. And they brought in Dan Marino, and Dan Marino's like, you see it on Hard Knocks of him in the quarterback room. And instead of constantly thinking like, boy, should we be going out somewhere else? Like, how are the Miami Dolphins feeling about Tua Tagovailoa? Now, you're probably, I see that look in your eye. You're going to be like, there's some money deal here, Justin.
No, not so much about his contract. Just that, like, if it had been proven that, like, let's look at it objectively, Justin. Before it was like comparing him to Justin Herbert. Knowing what we know now, are they not on pretty even ground with what they've accomplished? Justin Herbert's been to the playoff once or twice. I think once. Tua's been twice. So it's kind of like, a couple years ago it was, they would have preferred to have Herbert. And
yeah.
I still would like Herbert personally, but like.
It's not as cut and dry as it was. Like, you're exactly right.
Right. And for example, this year, Justin, like, save it. The Miami Dolphins broke the scoring record and put up 70 in a game this year. So I get it's one game, but like they could not have had a tougher draw than going to Kansas City in the snow. And they also, lost their division to the Bills. But yes.
You bring up a very good point, which is kind of where I'm like, there's an X factor lurking out there, which is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It's like, oh, what a year for the Dolphins. I had to go to Kansas City. Yeah. You think that's going to stop anytime soon? You think you're going to have to stop going to Kansas City in January to ultimately win the biggest prize in sports? Like, I don't think so. And I'm just wondering, if you are, you know, if you're Tyreek Hill, or or Jalen Waddle, are you sitting there going like, I mean, is Tua the right guy? That's what I'm saying. We're in the breakup season. All right, so Miami, I'm going to say Rocky. Not like, can still figure it out, but Miami, Rocky. Steelers, complicated. It's kind of put up or shut up time in the offseason, and Brenden, I think the Steelers might be shopping for a quarterback. I do.
They should be.
The word, like, I'm not there. I read a lot of Steelers stuff because I'm a fan, but I'm not there in Pittsburgh. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of allies in the building or in the city for one Kenny Pickett. Now, some of that might be the fact that he had to play under Matt Canada as an offensive coordinator for his entire career. And, like, I don't know, maybe let's let him cook with a new offensive coordinator. Now, that offensive coordinator comes from Tennessee, where they're going to let him cook anyways. But, like, maybe, but, like.
How about Justin Fields? Would you be intrigued with that?
I saw that yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that too. Would you be intrigued? I think that'd be, like, Mike Tomlin will get the best out of that guy. That'd be awesome.
But why hasn't Mike Tomlin gotten the best out of Kenny Pickett?
There's a bit of a difference in athletic ability and.
Yeah, but we've seen this, like, I
like
in quarterbacks in the NFL where it's like, hey, this guy, physical phenom, this guy, Brock Purdy, like, he just gets it done.
That's fair. Like, you could say Trey Lance is way more physically phenom than Brock Purdy. So that's fair. That's totally fair. But I think specifically for you, Justin, we're going to zero in on Justin's team.
Yeah.
They need to kick the tires on all quarterbacks.
Because I think other than the Seahawks, I think the Steelers are the most intriguing quarterback decision-making.
Yeah, great defense to step into, a couple decent receivers. The running game kind of found its legs at the end of last season. I would kick the tires on Justin Fields. I know you don't want to say kick the tires on Russell Wilson, but I think he would give you more than Kenny Pickett would.
Like, Russell Wilson is, on paper, I think it would be a great gamble. Here's the problem. In person, I don't think it works.
Does he get an office?
No. Because the Seahawks and the Broncos might let you be management, but, like, the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, I don't know if you saw
management.
I don't know if you walked by those 6 Lombardis that you walk through when you get into the building, but that's the standard in Pittsburgh. And I'm not saying because I just know the mentality. It's like, no. You're not management. The Rooneys, that's where the buck stops. That Russell Will. I don't, knowing, like, the fit of the city, like, Seattle and Russell fit perfectly. Is he a little kooky? Is he a little nerdy? Is he a little corny? Yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, like, he got him wins. He got him to the Super Bowl, made him relevant for a long, long time. Seattle embraced it. And Seattle was willing to look past that. Boy, this is some weird stuff going on here. Pittsburgh, they don't look past it. It's like, unless you are winning the Super Bowl, yeah. That, the TikTok dances that you're doing. They ran Juju Smith-Schuster out of town because he was doing TikTok videos and not catching enough touchdowns, right? You went, like old Bull Durham quote, you win 20 in the show, you can do anything you want. You can grow fungus on your shower shoes. But until you do, you're a slob. And it's like, you go to places like Pittsburgh and Philly and I think even Dallas, you don't win, it's not cute. I'm fascinated to see where Russell Wilson goes. All right, we mentioned Bengals, Jags, kind of rock solid. Colts, still got to see on Anthony Richardson. They're not going. Raiders, Broncos, Titans, Patriots. They're all swiping right. They are all on the apps in the AFC. And then the Jets are like, all right. Yeah, that one girl said she was going to go to prom with us, then said she got sick and couldn't go. Was she lying? Don't know. We'll see about it. But you got the one-year run with Aaron Rodgers. The AFC, other than the Steelers and I think the Dolphins, and probably less the Dolphins, but other than the Steelers and the Dolphins, pretty cut and dry. Lamar, Allen, Mahomes, Stroud, Watson, because he's financially linked. Burrow, Herbert, Rodgers, and I guess Anthony Richardson and Trevor Lawrence. They're all kind of locked in. The rest. Now we go to the NFC. NFC is fascinating. 49ers and Brock Purdy. I think they're sticking around. But I don't know if I would throw it as rock solid.
And did you see as well, and this is something that wasn't super widely known, Justin, he can't get a contract extension. Purdy has one more guaranteed year of making
$800,000,
for lack of better terms, folks, crap money, which
especially in the Bay Area.
Which
$800,000 is a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of people with a whole lot less, but
sure,
like live in
still, it's true. So with that, Justin, like I look at it as the Niners have one more crack at it, where you're going to have your quarterback be making what? 80% less than he should.
Yeah.
And you got to, that's why I said, if I'm the Niners, I am chips all back in, whatever it takes, because we know from Seattle, Justin, it can be harder to get back when your quarterback gets paid.
Now, I will say this, and maybe some listeners out there might be like, catch me on this. I don't know the financials of all these situations, and they may, other than Deshaun Watson gets all the money. So there may be some where you're like, yeah, Justin, that ain't going to happen. The financials of it are, but are the Lions and Jared Goff rock solid? I think so. The goodwill that they had going to the NFC title game, the city has embraced him. I think Lions and Goff rock solid. Cowboys and Dak, rocky relationship. I don't think they're going to make a quarterback change. I don't know, but in the off. What if the Cowboys just decided we want to try Russell Wilson? It seems absurd, but what if they just were like, objectively, who is a better football player, Russell Wilson or Dak Prescott? Like
right now, Dak Prescott. I feel very confident saying that right now at this particular moment. Now, 5 years ago,
best case scenario, who do you think has a higher ceiling right now?
Dak Prescott. I just don't think Russ. I think physically he's limited. I think he's going to be like what we saw in Denver this year. He can win you games, but it's going to be like 200 yards passing, 15 of 18. You know what I mean? Just like Dak can still go out there and cook you for 400. Now, has he been turnover prone? Absolutely. Yeah. But I would take Dak right now because I think he's 4 or 5 years younger than Russ? I think because Russ is like.
Sounds about right.
Russ is like 34, 35. Dak just turned 30, so yeah.
All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Give it one run with Baker, like, while we continue on our relationship analogies. It's like, don't know if it's exactly what you wanted, but there's no good reason to break up. You know what I mean? It's like, he's nice. It's not Jameis. That Tom Brady guy was fun, but never going to live up to that ever again. So, like, that's where I think Baker Mayfield is with Tampa Bay from a relationship standpoint. It's like, you guys had like 3 years of Tom Brady. Like, I'm never going to be that, but he's gone now. So quit thinking you're ever going to have that again. It's not. It's never going to happen. You need to understand that is over. You dated the one rich guy in college. He's gone now. But
do we think it's a given that Russ is out in Denver? Is that 100%?
I think that ship has sailed. Yeah.
I did see something yesterday that said
there's no way, like, Sean, if it was not Sean Payton as a coach, I would think, maybe you can, but Sean Payton, I think, when he decided Russell Wilson is healthy and I don't want to play him, I think that was when we were done.
So you as a Steeler fan, do you really want that smoke?
No. I told you no.
Yeah. So
I don't. No.
Justin Fields?
Better option than, I don't know.
Consider it.
I don't know. Now, because here's the other part of it. As a Steeler fan, I still remember, Brenden, 2013 Russell Wilson. I covered Russell Wilson for 3 years. Like, I still
Uniforms
remember.
are magic.
I know. It was a long time ago. It's a crazy time back then. But I still remember that dude who did magical things on the now Lumen, then CenturyLink field. But, man, all right, We may continue this discussion coming up because there's some other interesting quarterback situation. How's Philly feeling about Jalen Hurts this year?
There's a reason they can, both coordinators.
How are the Rams feeling about Matthew Stafford right now? Great guy. Got you your championship. That flag will fly forever. No spring chicken. Obviously, the Seahawks are a thing. Saints are swiping right. Do the Vikings give Kirk Cousins another go? Coming off of an Achilles tear? Obviously, the Bears are in the most interesting situation because they've got the number 1 overall pick. Falcons swiping right. Giants swiping right. Commanders swiping right. Panthers were too early to tell. And then the Arizona Cardinals. Now, that might be one of those where financially, not quite Deshaun Watson, but financially, can't really give up on Kyler Murray just quite yet. But there's a situation of brewing there. It's breakup season in the NFL. Your team's going to be breaking up with quarterbacks because we're past Valentine's Day and it's breakup season. We may talk about this coming up in hour number 2. We do have one of the weirdest by the NBA. It just, when you think you can't get any weirder, Troutdale's own Drew Eubanks gets it, according to him, sucker punched in the bowels of the Footprint Center, leading to an arrest of an opposing player post-game. So we'll dive into that, some other NBA news and notes. But before we get into all that, I do want to tell you about DeBella. That's right, I talk about them often. Why? Because they are Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. That's right, the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers can do something we all are looking to do in 2024. Whether your diet has fallen off, whether you went back to drinking coffee, whether dry January was not as dry as you wanted it to be, but we can all agree we want to save some money in 2024. And updating your roof with solar shingles could potentially pay for that new roof with savings and federal and state incentives. Contact DeBella for all the details. It's super easy. Estimates are free and scheduled on a time that is convenient for you. You've probably seen their excellent work in Better Homes and Gardens. Real simple, HGTV. They've received accolades from Angie's List and Home Advisor, and now is the perfect time to connect with DeBella because of the financing opportunity they are offering. 0 down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit. 0 down and no payments until 2025. Check out DeBella, DABELLA, for a free, no-obligation appointment. Roofing, windows, siding, bath projects. DeBella, the official home improvement partner of your Portland Timbers. All right, time to wrap up hour number one. Blazers back in action tonight. They'll be taking on, once again, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Can I just – I know we did get off my lawn on Tuesday. I don't like back-to-back games. I don't like them in the NBA. I'm sure it's a little blip, blip in the schedule, and they're probably like, Justin, look, there's a lot of teams, okay? We got to deal with monster trucks and rodeos, right? And the Grammys. Remember, wasn't that like the Lakers? They always had to go on like the Grammys road trip, and then there was obviously San Antonio has got to go on the rodeo road trip every single year. Like, look, we got to deal with monster truck rallies. It's concerts and everything else, and like, all right, it's a little tough, but so I get it. I don't know how you schedule games. I don't know how they do all of that, and still like, have like concerts scheduled like a year and a half in advance and all. I don't know how it's done. All that being said, I don't like these back-to-backs. I don't like them.
Me neither.
Seems like there's been a lot more this year. Now maybe I say that every year.
Yeah, I think it's kind of this. I think it's been this way for a couple years now.
Okay. Well, it feels like there's been more than I would like. And do you think the players like it or no? I guess if you're like Minnesota and you're like, hey, let's just boom, boom, 2 nights or 3 nights in Portland. Let's just.
And then we don't have to play in Portland again.
And we don't got to come back.
Yeah, like that part could be convenient. But like it's also like odd to like prep for the same team twice.
Yeah, it is.
Who knows? Probably need to ask a coach what that's like.
But then again, you go to the playoffs and like you're going to play the same team like all those games right in a row. I don't know. Either way, there's a little beef. It's a little it's more whining. I'll be honest. That's a little whine from me. But there was a crazy story in the NBA yesterday involving one of our own, a Portland area native, Drew Eubanks, the Shack of Troutdale. News and notes around the NBA. We call it Round Ball Rock because of the great John Tesh. All right. Details are limited. And so far, we've got one side of the story, which is interesting. We haven't gotten another side of the story. So let's talk about what we know. Here's what we do know. Is that before the Pistons-Phoenix Suns game at Footprint Center yesterday, Drew Eubanks and Isaiah Stewart got into an altercation. Apparently that altercation started with words. Those words escalated to a, you want to go? I'm paraphrasing. Chest-to-chest bump. And according to Drew Eubanks and according to the Phoenix Suns, Isaiah Stewart threw a sucker punch. So much so that arena security had to get involved. So much so that Phoenix police had to get involved. And after the game, Isaiah Stewart was cited for assault, booked and released after the game. The Phoenix Suns put out a statement saying the attack on Drew Eubanks was unprovoked and acts of violence such as this are unacceptable. This is what the Suns said. I'm added the voice for effect. We unequivocally support Drew and will continue to work with local law enforcement and the NBA. That's a very strong statement on one side. While the other side, Detroit Pistons says we were in the process of gathering information. That's not good. About what happened and what provoked it and responding to the NBA and local authorities. When they say gathering information, they're like, please tell me there was something juicy that we can throw out there as to a reason why our player punched another player pregame. Because if not, if we do not find any information, we got a big problem on our hands. Monty Williams, head coach, who was fired by Phoenix, probably an interesting spot being there in Phoenix, but was fired by Phoenix as head coach of the Detroit Pistons, said the thing is we got to get all the information, gang. That's what he says. The NBA will do an investigation. For me to come here and make a statement, it would be a bit irresponsible. I know the Suns said it was unprovoked. I think it's irresponsible. You really don't know. Well, here's the deal. I don't know what happened, but Brenden, the fact that the Suns put out such a strong statement in an arena where they have all the cameras, in an arena where they have all the security. Sounds to me like the Suns are pretty confident that this was an unprovoked sucker punch to Drew Eubanks. Drew Eubanks, now, I don't know Drew Eubanks. I like him. Can't imagine he would lie in that situation, but then again, who knows? But when you hear Phoenix, who I'm pretty sure by the end of this had all the information, you had an entire game to watch the video.
I mean, I'll say this. I don't think that nobody punches nobody for no reason. Like, there's no reason somebody is just angry enough and like, I'm just going to go punch somebody today. So that
you and I don't go to the same bars, I don't think, because I've seen some people.
Yeah,
not for no reason, but for dumb reasons.
Yeah, and right now it comes out as no reason. So, I mean, I think words were said.
Definitely.
And I think Isaiah Stewart took it to the next level. So maybe, it's going to come out that Drew said something.
Hey, sticks and stones, okay? You know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
That was always the worst. Sticks and stones, but words like, no, words hurt. They do. They're just sometimes, you can't just be hauling off, punching people in the face, though. Can't have that
uncalled for.
Not in this league.
It takes two to tango, as they say.
We're going to find out. We're gathering information, though. We're going to find if it was unprovoked. Trust me, that video is going to be out by noon today. We have got hour number 2. We got to make or miss. We got an interesting food story that I found on the internet. All sorts of stuff coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Blazers back in action tonight. They'll be squaring off once again against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins at 4:30 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Kyle Shanahan said, yeah, thanks but no thanks to defensive coordinator Steve Wilks after just one season. I know you got into the Super Bowl, but you need to stop Patrick Mahomes in overtime, and you couldn't do that, so you got to leave. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but after one season, the 49ers have moved on from their defensive coordinator and are now entering into the coordinator coaching carousel. NBA news, we talked about it last segment. Isaiah Stewart of the Detroit Pistons, according to reports, punched Drew Eubanks in the face in the tunnel pregame before the Pistons and the Suns. Stewart was arrested and released on an assault charge while Eubanks went on to play in the win for the Suns. Sean Highkin in hour number 3. Hour 2 starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome back to Rip City Mornings. Happy Thursday, everybody. We got Make or Miss coming up this hour. Got an interesting article as it relates to a. I thought it was a nationwide delicacy. I don't know, but it seems like it's more popular in and around the Great Pacific Northwest. But the Choco Taco might be making a comeback, and it might be making a comeback with one of our local spots, which is, of course, the Salt and Straw. If you like lavender ice cream and waiting in line for it, that's your spot. I'm more of a Cloud City guy myself, but either way, shout out to Salt and Straw. But the Choco Taco might be coming back, which I am super pumped about. So we'll dive into that.
Sadly enough, I've never had one.
You never had a Choco Taco?
I have not.
Brenden.
Yes. You know I'm a sweet tooth, too, so
whatever your middle name is, Slaughter. You told me it before, I forgot it.
Scott.
Brenden Scott Slaughter.
Ooh, I'm in trouble now.
How dare you? You've never had a Choco Taco?
I remember we talked about this when they were discontinued, which is crazy because I saw it was summer of 2022. So that's how long Justin and I have been together, folks. Bringing you fine radio product.
3 years. 3 years.
I know. Time flies, man. But
Remember the first month? Didn't think it was going to make it 3 years.
Yeah. No, I don't think I could have predicted that. But regardless.
You took one look at me and you're like, I don't know what to do with this guy.
No, I think it was more self-internal, too.
I don't know about this guy.
If you had told me.
I got the feeling you were like, this ain't real. Like, the way this guy's acting right now, this ain't real. I
had been jerked around and had a lot of change at that first couple months. So I was like, can I just have some consistency? And bingo, bango, here we are. But no, Justin, I have never had one. So we'll talk about it later in the show and maybe figure out where I can go get one.
Well, sounds like you may be able to find one at a particular fast food place coming up real soon. Real quick, story time with Uncle Justin. I think this is, I always wonder, like, is this experience that I had more about the time that I grew up or the place that I grew up? Is this more time or more place? I think it's more place, but I'm not quite sure because, again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s where the internet existed from about middle school on, but it wasn't in my pocket. We didn't have cell phones and DVRs didn't exist. Didn't get caller ID until I was in Winston until I was sophomore in college. Sophomore in college when we got caller ID. Right, so you could just call anybody you want, make prank phone calls. Nobody even knew. It was the best. Anywho, I grew up right there in the heart of Douglas County, and the Umpqua Dairy is something we hold very close to our hearts. So much so that I have created a dairy rivalry with Bill Orm because obviously he is a Tillamook man and I am an Umpqua guy. Tillamook may got us by the numbers, you know what I mean? But hard work, scrappy, blue collar, I feel like Umpqua Dairy, we hold our own. That being said, I had family friends, one of my best friends' dad, one of my buddies during the summer, they worked at the dairy. And
Does that mean your town had a nice smell to it, too?
No.
Or not so bad? It's like,
No, because you got to, think about dairy, milk. Where's milk come from? Cows. Cows smell bad.
yeah, no, that's what I was saying. It's like, because, like, I remember, I had a buddy that grew up in Camas. Fine paper makers up there.
Yeah.
And, well,
Had a
anyone
nice
who lives
little
up there,
aura of the...
they know what it smells like. So I just had to ask.
When I was growing up, it was Albany.
That paper mill going back to Corval. Oh, it was brutal. No wonder they tore out that paper mill.
Anytime, we would go and take a trip up here to Portland, right? It was like, all right, kids,
So bad.
hunker down. We're driving past Albany. It's gonna stink. Thoughts.
That is so relatable.
Sorry to the people of Albany, but you know.
That's why they got it tore out. Just
everybody that grew up in Oregon at a certain particular time knew when you were driving on I-5 near Albany, because you would get that paper mill smell. It didn't. It was like the farms were out and about. The dairy was right there in town, and because I grew up in the smaller town, Roseburg was known as town. I'm sure you guys called Portland. Did you say, "Hey, we're going into town"? Again,
it was the city.
Going into the city.
Yeah.
Got it. Didn't have to say Portland, though. We said going into town.
Yeah.
That meant going into Roseburg.
Yeah, like Sherwood was town. It was town. It was big enough to be a town.
But I had friends that worked at the dairy, and you knew the guy that was working in the cooler. Let's just say you could go in, give a little secret knock, and all of a sudden maybe a drumstick, the ice cream drumstick, or a Choco Taco.
Oh, yeah.
Might somehow, some way just appear out of nowhere. And I had so many Choco Tacos in my life because,
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm going to leave out the names, and I'm pretty sure we're past statute of limitations. But like anything else, when you're dealing with inventory, and Brenden, you know this because you worked in the restaurant industry. Sometimes stuff break and you have to sacrifice it for just, those fries waited too long, got to throw them out. You know what I mean? Perfectly good fries, but they sat there too long, clock is ticked, got to throw them out.
It reminds me of that hilarious clip or hilarious episode of The Office, Justin, where Michael gets lost and he goes to the hot dog stand. He goes, "What about the hot dogs you're going to throw away?" Yeah. Can you throw one away in my mouth now? No, because it's true. It's like, restaurants don't give food away for free, but you'd be shocked at how much food fast food restaurants throw out at the end of a shift, the end of an eat.
Yeah.
I worked at Sonic. I worked at Five Guys. Justin, if those fries were not into
There's
the
a
garbage,
timer, right?
Yeah, it was into the garbage. There were a lot of fries that, Justin, were sadly lost.
So in that spirit, right, let's just say that a box containing delicious ice cream delicacies may have fallen in shipment, and that box had become damaged, and you can't put that damaged box in the freezer, in your grocer's freezer case, because it's a damaged box, and those would just become, again, sacrifice. So somehow, some way, Box Choco Taco would take a tumble every once in a while. Who knew, right?
I love it.
So again, I don't know if that's small town life or if that's growing up in the 80s and the 90s, but yeah. One of my really good friends, his dad worked at the dairy. His dad's buddy worked in the cooler. Hey, yeah, we had a box of Choco Tacos fall down. You guys want some? Yeah, we do. I'm going to leave the names out, though. But that was also I've told this story before, the surefire way, when maybe, let's just say, I knew somebody that worked at Abby's Pizza, and then before caller ID was a thing, maybe somebody, I don't know who, would go outside of Abby's Pizza and on the payphone call in a giant, Abby special, and then much like with a fake name, because back then there was a lot of trust. There's a lot of trust in ordering food. It's like, hey, I want this food. I want this pizza. Do you need a credit card? No, we can't do that. Got to come in and pay for it. So you'd order from an anonymous person, and then your French fry thing, which is Guys, that pizza's been sitting out. I don't think they're coming. Do you want it? Sure do. Different time. Different time, different place. But, yeah, that's how I ate a lot of Choco Tacos.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And drank a lot of chocolate milk. And we could sit and we could argue about Tillamook versus Umpqua till the dairy cows come home, literally. I'll put Umpqua dairy chocolate milk up against anything in the world. Anything, any chocolate milk. Nestle's, Quick, try again. Lucerne, nope. Umpqua chocolate milk was one of those things because on the weekends, let me tell you, on a Saturday morning, Dad would get up, run to the donut shop, get a handful of donuts and a couple of cartons of chocolate milk, and dude, that with some Smurfs on a Saturday morning, I don't know what heaven is, but I hope it's that.
Can I ask you?
I hope it's that.
Can I ask you a fun question, Justin? The spirit of this, because I'm like, that was Justin in a different life. When was the last time you consumed a donut?
There's been okay.
At least 10 years?
No.
Okay, good.
Now,
that's better.
The last time I actively said, I'm going to go buy a donut and bring it back and buy it to eat, that's been a long time. But, we work in offices. Every once in a while, there's a thing of donuts. We also, there was a time when the Pac-12 was running some really, and I'm doing air quotes, running some early games. We had an 11:30 a.m. football kickoff one time up at Autzen Stadium, and they had donuts there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I remember.
So I've eaten I've eaten donuts.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I've also been a little toasty late at night near the Voodoo, and it was like, Voodoo's still open? Let's see what they got.
I've
been there, but in terms of waking up in the morning going you know what? Today is donut day.
Yeah.
No,
it's just curious because on our I swung through Voodoo on Super Bowl Sunday and was kind of curious. Yeah.
Did you? What'd you get?
Yeah, we were coming back from.
Did you get the maple bar with bacon?
No, I'm a Captain Crunch guy. Gotta go with.
Does the Captain Crunch on the donut still shred the roof of your mouth?
Not
like
as
they
much.
did when have they changed that since the 80s? Because I haven't had having Captain Crunch. That's been a long time.
Yeah, I can't say
another life ago, probably 20, 25, maybe more.
Yeah, I can't say I've had a bowl of Captain Crunch in recent memory, but that's still my favorite Voodoo donut. And yes, we did get some maple bacon bars. We also got what else? Like a Homer donut that looks like the donut Homer Simpson would have. A couple others that I can't think of right now, but man, it hit. It was good, man. It was hit.
When it comes to donuts, I'm a basic guy. Old-fashioned glazed,
clutch,
done right, can't beat it.
Clutch,
can't beat it.
But I'll say this: Voodoo, Justin, very properly rated. I know people like to say it's overrated. Some people go it's properly
rated.
I think so.
I would say, this whole thing started with the Choco Taco, which is going to be like Salt and Straw. Salt and Straw also properly rated, because it's good and proud of it being here and kind of like our thing. Don't know if I'd stand in line for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if I would either.
Don't know if it's in. Somebody brings in a pink.
A case of them?
I'll take a couple Voodoos. Thank you. But don't know if I'd wait in line for it. But that might be just everywhere. You know what I mean? You think people in Philadelphia are like Philly cheesesteaks are they're fine, they're good, but I'm not going to wait in line for it.
I'd be willing to bet there are people who feel that way.
Yeah,
I think so.
They're like wings in Buffalo. They're they're wings.
Exactly.
Not going to go to Anchor Bar and wait in line. All right. Wasn't planning on doing all that, but you know what?
Choco Taco, baby.
Welcome to the show. Make or miss coming up in a bit. Sean Highkin's going to be joining the show in the third hour. Sean Highkin had a great post that we're going to talk about also later on in the big show before we bring him on about how the Blazers and everybody else in this rebuild mode trying to find their Anthony Edwards. So we're going to dive into that. But we got make or miss in just a bit before we get to make or miss. Not a miss, a make. Contacting DeBella. That's right. You have home improvement needs like windows, siding, roofing, maybe a bathroom renovations. We'll talk to the experts here in the great state of Oregon, DeBella. How do I know they are the experts? Why? 15,000 five-star reviews. Just start with that. They don't allow 6-star reviews on Google. 15,000 plus 5-star reviews on Google for their excellent work. How do I know they're the experts? Well, they have been featured in Better Homes and Gardens, Real Simple, HGTV. They've got award-winning customer service, and they've received accolades from Angie's List and Home Advisor. Plus, you can take advantage of their financing opportunities. 0 down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit. Look, we all want to save money in 2024. Update your roof with solar shingles. I didn't even know they existed, but they do. And it could potentially pay for your roof with savings and federal or state incentives. Contact DeBella for all the details and get easy, convenient estimates that are free and scheduled on a time that is right for you. DeBella, free, no obligation appointment for roofing, windows, siding, and bath projects. They are the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. All right, coming up in an hour from now, we're going to talk to Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report. Maybe we're going to call it the Rose Garden again. Is that a
Maybe the new owner will take it private.
Each and every year, we keep going. And listen, I'm not anti making money. And I'm not anti sponsorships. Hello, DeBellas. You know what I mean? I'm not against. I live in a world of sponsorship. I understand it. But it's like every year we keep going along and going along. There's a generation of the kids who we're gonna have to explain. Yeah, no, this was called the Rose Garden. It was a whole thing. Because I remember when they first got the Moda Center, and I was like, nobody's gonna call it the Moda Center.
I do too.
That is so cute. They're gonna call it those. Yeah, I call it Moda Center all the time.
Literally that moment, Justin, where for a very silly reason, you remember exactly where you were.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember being either, a sophomore or junior in high school and discussing with my friends at the lunch table, how vividly, and we're all like, we're not gonna call it Moda. That's so silly.
Yeah. It's the Rose Garden.
Yeah, it's the Rose Garden.
Yeah, everybody calls it Moda
it's just Moda. So it's so funny that I can identify and be like, yep, I remember talking about that in high school.
Well, I'm trying
a long time now with Moda though.
Other than
10 plus years now.
Other than is Madison Square Garden the only one that doesn't have a name?
Yes, believe so.
It's the only one. Right? Oh, we've talked about this because Climate Pledge Arena is not a corporate name, but it's obviously Bezos and Amazon own it.
Madison Square Garden is the only arena other than but Climate Pledge doesn't have an active NBA team, so it doesn't count for this this case. If they got an active NBA team, would that name change? Maybe.
I mean, I know that in Boston it's TD Gardens, but I wonder if people still call it Boston Garden or something like that.
That's a good.
Well, I guess the Boston Garden was the old barn, right? The old building, and then they brought back TD Garden. But I remember one of the absolute worst, because I grew up in the summer. We would go on road trips, and you would either go up to a Seattle Mariner game, or usually you go down to the Bay Area and watch either an Oakland A's game or a San Francisco Giants game, and then you go to Great America, which is an all-time awesome theme park. Shout out to Great America. Underrated. Disneyland and Magic Mountain get all the pub, but Great America, and I think it's in San Jose, that's the spot. Anyways, we go down there and go to Candlestick Park, because that's where the Giants played. Very cold. But yeah, Candlestick, and then they renamed it 3Com Park, and I think everybody laughed. And that one was one that didn't stick.
Do you think LeBron still calls it Staples?
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah. Staples is the one that I think is...
Well, it's I still call it Safeco Field. Sorry to T-Mobile.
T-Mobile's like, come on, Justin. We're trying to make money here.
I get it. And I know that Safeco is an insurance company, right? And it wasn't it was named after Carl Safeco. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I still call it Safeco Field. It's been Safeco Field forever. Maybe one day the whole T-Mobile thing. Lumen, though, I'm on board. I'm on board with the Lumen.
I'm surprised that there's not even one that's not sponsored. I mean...
Well, what we need to happen is, again, Phil Knight needs to be able to buy this team, and we need to revert it back, and we'll call it the Rose Garden again, and
I like
vibes shall be high. But until that, we have the Rose Garden Report, which is fantastic, and Sean Highkin's going to be joining the show in less than an hour now, because we rambled on and on and on about other arena names. We had to look up the Footprint Center. I still think Smoothie King Arena is the best. I don't think it's that anymore in New Orleans. But of all the names of all the arenas, I think Smoothie King has the championship belt.
Still called Smoothie King.
Got it.
Okay, then by sake of argument, we have to say the worst then.
Well, I mean, Smoothie King is the best because it's the worst, right? It's Smoothie King, I guess it's a big deal down there.
I've actually been to a Smoothie King before.
Have you?
Yeah, they're not here, but I've been to one, I think in an airport somewhere.
I prefer to make my own smoothies. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I never make them. So yeah, I ride for Jamba or Smoothie King if that's. But it'd be like calling Mona Jamba Juice Arena. That's kind of essentially the same thing. But yeah, the Footprint Center is not a great name. Little Caesars Arena, not bad.
The Cleveland?
Detroit.
Not
bad. I mean, it's Little Caesars Pizza, man. But how many people are probably like, yeah, I miss the Palace.
Little Caesars, we're going to get to make or miss, I promise. But Little Caesars.
I always take us on these off-brand road trips.
It used to be on the same level of Domino's and Pizza Hut. It did.
Really?
Like, there was a time when
I can't comprehend that.
Now maybe it's just my child eyes or my childish memory back then. But there was a time when, like, you were getting takeout and somebody brought Little Caesars. It was not, oh, you went and got Little Caesars? Like, it was same level. Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's. Do we like Papa John's now?
I mean, Shaq owns it.
Shaq's
now.
Shaq owns it.
I think we're getting around it.
But then I think Little Caesars was like, hey, here's what we can do. We should make everything $5. $5. By the way, Little Caesar. Again, my theory on the pepperoni or the pineapple on the pizza. Oh, Little Caesar. Yeah, they seem to be everywhere for a reason. They got enough money there for to do an arena.
Third biggest.
Somebody's buying Little Caesars.
Third biggest pizza chain behind Domino's and Pizza Hut. So there you go. Move up, Papa Murphy's or Papa John's. Little Caesars coming after you.
I still ride for Pizza Hut.
Of those three, you pick Pizza Hut?
Yeah.
I think I would too.
I ride for Pizza Hut. I have a lot of fond memories of going to the Pizza Huts. Like,
can you tell me the last time you thought you've been to a Pizza Hut?
Oh, that's
either takeout or have you even gotten a pizza to go from Pizza Hut?
Long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Been a long time.
That's fair.
All right. Speaking of long time, we have gone off the rails enough. Let's get to make or miss. What do you think is like the trashiest thing? Not trashy, but like, because like Little Caesars, like, it's affordable, but like nobody really brags about it. Is yours probably the amount of soda you drink each and every day?
It's actually funny. The other day, someone asked me, and I said, I try to keep it to 2 cans a day, which.
Do you prefer the cans?
Yes.
Or I was a 20-ounce bottle, like 20-ounce plastic bottle. That was my go-to.
If I bought 20-ounce plastic the plastic bottles, I probably would be able to get away with 1 a day, but it's very I'm super routine. It's like I won't have a soda just to have a soda. It's with lunch and with dinner.
I got it.
So
that's a little deal you make with yourself. You're like, this is like I'm going to eat a meal.
Yeah.
And if I'm eating a meal, this is my drink or my.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Yeah, and it's but for the most part, I'll have I like carbonated water a lot. Like when I'm just need something to sip on.
What's in the house refrigerator right now?
LaCroix.
But like your actual soda.
Yo, soda. Coca-Cola. I always say Coke. Justin says a cola. So Coca-Cola.
She's old school Coca-Cola, red can.
Yep, Barks root beer.
Yeah. It's got bite.
Couple cherry Cokes.
Cherry Cokes are good.
And I think Squirt.
Squirt's in there, huh?
Yeah. I really like Squirt. Solid.
Not Ruby Red Squirt, but the OG
regular.
Squirt.
Yes.
Got it.
It's solid.
All right. Good stuff.
So, yeah, that's Brendan's fridge. But, yes, let's go ahead and open up Make or Miss. I'm sure we'll continue some sort of fun conversations. Yeah. But we already mentioned The Office once today, Justin. So this next reference is going to hit real well. Steve Wilkes is the scapegoat.
Yeah. This is it's an interesting time. I would have never have thought that the 49ers defensive coordinator was going to be the scapegoat. You know what I mean? It is, I guess nothing is surprising anymore, but was it really the defense that was the problem? I guess in the postseason, they They made Jordan Love look really good at times.
Detroit
right?
had some success.
But Detroit's had success all year.
That's true.
Detroit's
That's
a good football team. And, I mean,
From what
you held Patrick Mahomes in check for, like, think about
you mentioned the
if
injuries.
McCaffrey doesn't fumble, which led to, I believe, points, and if they don't botch the punt return, which also led to points, defense is playing pretty good up until that last possession in a time where they didn't have Hufanga. And we haven't talked about this at all because obviously Patrick Mahomes might be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Andy Reid is ascending into one of the greatest coaches of all time. The Chiefs are in the middle of a dynasty, the overtime blunder and everything else. Dre Greenlaw, who is an all-pro linebacker, pops a flat tire running on the field in the first quarter. And it can't really prepare for that. This is surprising. This is one of those where obviously he took over for D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans, clear why he was successful as their quarterback or as a coordinator, because he is now crushing it as a head coach in his first year. But this must have been like all year, just not really being on the same page, not really figuring out. I don't know. But I would love to get like a deep dive, and no coach would ever do this, but like, what is the head coach coordinator relationship like when it's not going well? Do you know what I mean? Like, I lived it as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, where it's like, I believe Mike Tomlin is a great coach. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. Maybe he needs to win one more Super Bowl. But, like, I believe Mike Tomlin, you look at the amount of wins he has, the amount of respect he has around the league, and yet 2 years, Matt Canada is just ruining the offense. Was that Matt Canada? Like, I wonder, what is that meeting like? And what is it like if you are Kyle Shanahan and you're, like, not really happy with it, but you obviously can't call him out? Boy, I would love to know what that dynamic. Now, no coach will ever tell us this, because no coach doesn't want to end their career by outing what it's like. But it feels like there was something brewing there for a while. Super Bowl and the loss just made it easy. Just whatever the fit was, it wasn't working.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, for the most part, I knew.
But they held Patrick Mahomes to 19 regulation points, 7 of which came off of a special teams blunder.
Yeah, I mean...
what else do you want?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and
also if the 49ers make the extra point, they don't lose the Super Bowl.
Right. So the way I look at this, too, is everything you just said is right, but at the end of the day, it was the fact that Jordan Love found way too much success.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you know, it is a results-based business, Justin, and for what it's worth, your team, whether gassed or not, had an entire field to stop Patrick Mahomes and win a Super Bowl. An entire field. And granted, very few teams have done that.
Yeah.
But in that respect, where it's like you're not going to fire Kyle Shanahan, but somebody has to be the scapegoat, I can see why. Steve Wilkes, and to your point, there was some thoughts that, you know, early on, Kyle Shanahan feels like he didn't have the same juice and X factor that Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans did, and clearly, right? D'Amico Ryans and Robert Saleh are both head coaches. Robert Saleh would have been better this year with Aaron Rodgers. With that defense, they would have probably made the playoffs. Just flat.
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryans, we already see what he's doing. Steve Wilkes, you know, he didn't really do well as a coach, right? I believe he was only a head coach for the Cardinals. Went 3-13 one year, got fired, and then interim in Carolina a couple years ago. So
It's a very interesting move in that it's probably, again, you hear hooves, think horse, not zebra, right? That's what I was told in college. Like, you hear hooves, think horse, not zebra, which, like, I don't want to get all like, does this have anything to do with the overtime blunder? And is this probably not. But timing of it, this is 2 days after players were quoted saying, like, we didn't know the overtime rules. And a lot of people were saying, Because I don't know if a lot of people were really hammering Kyle Shanahan all that much on the overtime thing because it's Patrick Mahomes, right? I think we all just can kind of accept that there might be in the next couple of years a lot of coaches who can't win the big game because they're going up against Patrick Mahomes. But the timing of it is like, yeah, your players didn't know about the overtime, and you took the ball in overtime, giving Patrick Mahomes the knowledge and the opportunity to go win a Super Bowl. We're going to fire a defensive coordinator. You know what I mean? I don't think it has anything to do with that, but the timing of it will make people believe that might have something to do with it. I don't think it is, but timing's odd. You know what I mean? Timing's odd.
It just seems too coincidental. And again, I'm curious to see who they go and hire because it's late in the cycle. And like I said earlier, Justin, the Niners have one more year of all chips in because you have Brock Purdy on a rookie deal. So that means you can, again, afford your expensive roster within some tough decisions will have to be made. But you're going to be able to keep McCaffrey. You're probably going to be able to keep Bosa and, that whole kind of core. Debo, obviously.
Is there a college coach out there
who would leave to be DC?
Who might pull a Chip Kelly here? Now, obviously, Chip went to Ohio State, but interviewed with because if you are a college coach and you have head coaching aspirations, defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers might be a good spot. You know what I mean?
Terrific spot.
Might be a good spot.
Who is the most defensive-minded head coach you can think of who's had great success? Because we're in a day of offense now.
I know.
So it's like...
Well, would have been Matt Rule, but he got his opportunity in the NFL and
failed.
He's back at Nebraska making more money.
A great question. I would need to think about the teams that are I think of the Big Ten. Obviously, it would have to be someone and this makes no sense.
You're Kirk Ferentz isn't leaving.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But a team that wins 15-8. Each kind of year. But
James Franklin.
Yeah,
but I don't think James Franklin wants to leave Penn State.
Yeah, it would have to be.
I wonder if there's just somebody out there going I'm tired of this NIL stuff. I'm really sick of this NIL stuff.
It would probably never happen, but right there in the Bay, Justin Wilcox, get out of that Cal mess.
Now that's a name.
That would be intriguing. Mr. Shanahan, listen to Brenden Slaughter on Rip City Mornings.
That's a good pull.
You just call him, hey, Justin, that Cal athletics department that's bleeding cash, yeah, not your problem anymore.
And also,
call defense.
You don't have to go play in the ACC where your travel is going to be an absolute nightmare.
And you and your wife don't have to move. So win, win, win. Michael Scott, win, win, win. It means I win too. So, man, that's someone like that comes to mind.
In years past, I would have been but. And again,
it's still pretty far out there, but still.
I don't know Justin Wilcox at all. I've interviewed him a handful of times. I've been to the Junction City Abbeys, so shout out to that.
It's true. Junction City's not a whole lot there.
But I get the sense he's not down with the let's mob the transfer portal and pay these kids and get a collective going kind of guy. I get the sense of he's about ball, and that'd be.
It seems like a stretch.
Be a stretch because he doesn't have any NFL coaching experience, but he's got some defensive coordinator experience. Why not?
It would be one of those things where I'm sure they will probably just promote within, Justin. But, hey, we just saw Ryan Grubb get a coordinator job with no NFL experience. So nothing is off the table anymore, I don't think, in that regard, if you're good. So someone like Wilcox, could he be looking for a way out of Cal? I doubt it, but that's a name that came up.
All right, we are going to be wrapping up hour number 2. We talked about it a lot about 25 minutes ago, but we may bring it. Local delicacy may be coming back, and I'm pumped up for it. I am excited for it. We'll wrap up hour number 2 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, back in 2022. Remember back then, kids? Just 2 years ago. We thought we had lost something forever. Because the Klondike Company, which I did not realize, owned and operated and produced an ice cream delicacy that I used to get when I was younger, either maybe through different means at the cooler of the Umpqua Dairy in Roseburg, Oregon, or more specifically, they were available at Taco Time. Taco Time, by the way, I think there's still a couple of them out there. We need a big time comeback for Taco Time.
We got one in Sherwood.
You got one in Sherwood?
We do.
Dude, I love Taco Time.
It's clutch. Those crisp bean burritos. Oh my
So I'm a
goodness.
crisp meat burrito guy. I'm not surprised you're not, because it's not really your bag, the ground beef, but I'm a crisp meat burrito guy. But yeah, Taco Time was and still is my jam. And available at Taco Time after you would have, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 crisp meat burritos because they were 99 cents back in 1995.
Not that cheap anymore.
No, probably not.
It's like 3 something though. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's $3.29 if I were to guess, Justin.
I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it.
He's like, you are so unlucky.
For the mid-90s, they were 99 cents. You get about 3 or 4 of them.
Jealous.
Get a big old mess of Mexi fries, and then you would top off your meal with the delicious Choco Taco. Yeah, the Choco Taco. And then in 2022, it felt like, or it didn't feel like, it was announced that the Klondike Corporation said, we're getting rid of them. Hard to know why. Maybe the numbers were down. I don't know. But the Klondike Company, what would you do for a Klondike bar? I don't know, but I'll tell you what I would do for a Choco Taco. A lot. And they were being discontinued. Summer 22, we lost them. Well, what is lost is now found. Because thanks to new CEO of Taco Bell, Sean Tresvant, who I believe was a very big deal at Nike for a while and spent a bit of time here in the Portland metro area, became familiar with something at Salt and Straw called the Chocolate Taclet, I believe is how you pronounce it. Not exactly the Choco Taco because it wasn't but it was their spin on it with the sideways waffle cone. And now that old Sean has taken over Taco Bell, he has worked with the people there at Salt and Straw, including their head chef, Tyler Malik. And if Tyler Malik is listening to the program, open invite if you want to come and talk some ice cream with your boy. Turns out he got a cold call from the new CEO saying like, hey, my name's Sean. I'm the new CEO of Taco Bell. Used to be at Nike, lived in Portland, loved your chocolate tacos, ice cream treat. What do you say we make a deal and we run these bad boys out again? And this summer, we're going to get Choco Tacos back. Now, not in the way that we knew them. They're going to be, because it's Salt and Straw, they're going to be upgraded a little bit. It's going to be dark chocolate instead of milk chocolate, which I'm a fan of. A little bit of a gourmet twist. Slightly spiced up ice cream, which I dig that as well. But we got Choco Tacos back. Brenden, I am pumped up. Now, you have never had one. You have said, you admitted this earlier in the show. This summer, because you have been known to maybe swing by a Taco Bell or two, especially on your way back from the show, to grab a little, maybe a breakfast crunch wrap supreme, I don't know. We got to get you some Choco Tacos this summer.
I can work on that. Definitely. Like, this sounds delicious. I'd like to try one. I wouldn't say it was never a reason of, like, not wanting to. Like, I'm not the biggest chocolate person to begin with, but this sounds like something I'd like.
As an adult, I have always, if I was going to fast food, skipped dessert to get more entree. You know what I mean? Like, hey, but Choco Taco come. So it got me thinking, like, what else needs to come back in our world? I know what is it? The nacho fries. That was a big deal at Taco Bell.
I don't ride for those.
No?
Properly overrated.
properly overrated.
Yeah.
Just spicy French fries and a cheese
It's just
dipping
like French
sauce.
fries
right?
at Taco Bell don't make sense. I'm sorry. It's like
I'm with you.
Yeah, like that.
But the tater tots though, they're Mexi fries at Taco Time, which absolutely crush.
are so good.
Their Mexi Nuggets, I believe, is what they were called at Taco Bell. And there was a whole online bring back the Mexi Nuggets, Mexi fries at Taco Time. I will ride or die for. Still one like, I don't know what seasoning they put on those things, but
Yeah.
like the Red Robin fry seasoning, like you can get that. Like the seasoning they put on the Mexi fries at Taco Time was, I mean, crushed.
They still hit. Yeah.
They
for
still
sure.
hit, but the thing that in the dessert space, if I'm going like all Shark Tank, in the dessert space, McDonald's got to bring back the deep fried pies. Now, I don't know if you have ever had them, but back in the glory days of Mickey D's, which was, of course, the early to mid 90s, when they still put fries in beef fat instead of vegetable oil, Brenden, they would take pre-made apple and cherry, but I was an apple pie guy. And they would take these pies, and you know how they prepared them? They would fry it in the fry oil. Now, they were like molten in your mouth and did more damage than Cap'n Crunch ever did. But you would get, if you ever were a little bit patient and let it cool down just enough, it was an unbelievable experience. If you were a child of the 90s, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you would get, now it didn't come with a Happy Meal, but like if your parents were like, all right, let's get an apple pie, and they would deep fry that bad boy right there in the French fry oil. And if you got it fresh, molten lava in your mouth. But if you got it with just enough time has passed, it's indescribable and needs to come back. Also, didn't Taco Bell do they have the cinnamon twists?
Yeah, I've had those for a while.
Choco crush.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is there any in 30 seconds fast food item you want to see back? Also, McDonald's needs to bring back the Arch Deluxe.
Ooh, sure. Taco Bell, my favorite thing was their naked chicken chalupa. And it was the chalupa that was made out of, like, the shell was made out of chicken. And then the inside was like, you know, you had your insert. Like,
Gotcha.
I crushed so many of those at 1 o'clock in the morning, Corvallis.
They still do grilled stuffed burritos?
I think they got rid of those. Taco Bell
bring
moved
'em
their
back.
menu quite a lot.
I say bring them back like I'm going to have one. I'm not, but
I'll bring one, Justin.
I'm definitely going to have a
I don't need
Choco Taco this summer. I'm pumped up. All right, we've got hour number 3. Sean Highkin's going to join us. We got the RCM mailbag. All that coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trailblazers return to action tonight at Moda Center, also known as the Rose Garden, against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock in the second of their back-to-back games. Pre-game coverage begins at 4:30 right here on 620 Rip City Radio. Defensive coordinator Steve Wilks is out after one season with the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan has shown him the door after the Super Bowl loss. And in NBA news, odd scene before the Pistons and Phoenix Suns game that had Isaiah Stewart allegedly, according to Drew Eubanks, sucker punching Drew Eubanks in the arena tunnel pregame. That led to assault charges and an arrest while Eubanks went on to play the game. Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report is going to be joining us in approximately 20 minutes. We've got an RCM mailbag and a new twist on the LeBron James Lakers saga. Hour 3 of Rip City Morning starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. You know, the internet has given us an awful lot in our life. The internet's given us access to tons of information at the touch of a screen. It's also given us a place to do a lot of complaining. And one of the biggest complaints out there, and one of the trends out there in the social media world, in the pop culture world, in the influencer world, is the discussion of Nepo babies. Brenden, I'm sure you're on the internet a lot. You've got you keep an ear to the ground what the kids are talking about. I'm sure you've heard of the concept of Nepo babies. These are people born into not privilege, but born into opportunities through nepotism. Whether it is, there's going to be a bunch of people catching ricochets. Speaking of things the kids talk about, there's going to be a bunch of people catching ricochets. But like, Jack Collinsworth is a guy who is a broadcaster for NBC Sports. A lot of people don't think that Jack Collinsworth is maybe good enough to work at NBC Sports, but his dad is Chris Collinsworth, and Chris Collinsworth is one of the best football analysts in the game, and vis-a-vis, his kid gets a job, Nepo baby, right? We've had Ian Eagle on this program during March Madness. He's a tremendous guest and a tremendously nice guy. His son, Noah Eagle, is the play-by-play man for the Brooklyn Nets, some people believe. Now, is that Nepo baby stuff, or is that, look, I've been around, like Patrick Mahomes talked about how growing up, because his dad was a professional baseball player, was a Major League Baseball player, and growing up in a competitive environment and growing up in a locker room prepared him better than maybe anywhere else on how to be a professional, on how to handle certain things at the professional level. And does that make him a Nepo baby, or does that just give him access to things that people who are out of the professional world of sports didn't get? Same thing with like broadcasting. If you grow up and your dad was a broadcaster, you get a firsthand early education how the system works, and usually you might have an advantage or a leg up. And then also on the other side of it, you might also get opportunities through contacts that nobody else would get because you're a Nepo baby. And the one place that usually you could count on not being sullied with a bunch of Nepo babies is sports, especially professional sports. Because as the one viral video said, ain't nobody got time for that, to be giving out spots on a roster, limited spots. There's only 25 spots on a baseball roster. There's only 53 spots on an NFL roster. And we see it in Hard Knocks every year. Incredibly talented players get cut from NFL rosters. There's not a gift of a spot on the roster, and there's only 12 spots on an NBA roster. And you might be thinking, well, with those limited amounts of spots, sports is still the great meritocracy. If you can play, you can play. There are actors who are maybe not that great of acting, but they get roles. Sports, great meritocracy. Well, that meritocracy may be being challenged. And on the program, he's dialed it. We saw the news. The Golden State Warriors made some phone calls and said, hey, LeBron James, you want to come play for us? I don't know how Klay Thompson's feeling about that, by the way, because that's the guy who was on the way out. But the smoke around LeBron James and the Lakers is getting thick to where maybe there's some fire there, to where maybe there's potentially a breakup on the way. According to The Athletic, the Lakers, per the high-ranking team source, are willing to explore the notion of adding Bronny James. Pause real quick. Bronny James currently averaging 6 points, 3 rebounds, shooting 35% from the field, 27% from three on a 9-15 USC team. In the middle of not the strongest Pac-12 field. Back to exploring the notion of adding Bronny James next season. This stance, the source said, is rooted in the reality that LeBron James's happiness is what truly matters to the organization. If the Lakers don't win the NBA title this year, and I do not believe that they will, and LeBron James goes out and has options in the offseason, boy, how many teams are going to be willing to give up a precious roster spot for somebody that is not capable of playing NBA basketball, simply because that could nearly guarantee LeBron James comes to your organization. And LeBron James, as we talked on Tuesday, I believe still the biggest draw in the entire NBA. At least in America. There's LeBron, there's Steph, Giannis. But who else is in the discussion? In terms of like drawing power, eyeballs on it, guaranteed to open up first take every single day, right? LeBron's still number one.
He is.
He still is. Which is why you are seeing teams, and the Los Angeles Lakers of all teams, willing to draft 35% from the field college player. This is going to get nuts. And we've talked about it a ton. I don't openly criticize Bronny James. He didn't choose who his dad was. He also chose to go into the world of sports, and the world of sports can be a cruel time. I wish he would get a fair shot at basketball. I don't know if he is going to, simply because there will always be questions. Is he there on his merits? Is he not? But I never thought I would see the day when, we see it in college all the time. Brenden, I'm sure you've seen it, where there's somebody at the end of the bench who's got a scholarship, and it just so happened to be the friend of the five-star guy. We've seen plenty of assistant coaches on college rosters who are like, wait, where'd this new assistant college coach come from? Well, he coached the AAU team, and that AAU team had a five-star guy.
Well, it happens at the NBA level, too. I don't want to send a ricochet, but again.
Let's do it. Let's send some ricochets.
Was Kelvin Blevins really worth a roster spot for 2 years, or is it because he was Damian Lillard's cousin? I'll leave it at that.
Kelvin Blevins was Damian Lillard's cousin?
Mm-hmm.
That was in the tanking year, though, wasn't it? No?
Regardless, it was 2020 and 2021, but 2 years, they gave him that two-way deal, Justin. Yeah. It's like, is that because? Or my personal favorite, pretty sure Thanasis Antetokounmpo
yeah, that's the one right now.
Absolutely nothing for that Milwaukee Bucks team. So I'll leave it at that, too. But yes, definitely.
I forgot about Kelton Blevins.
Kelton Blevins, baby. Montana State or Montana? One of the two.
Montana State, good call. Way to go. Let's go Bobcats.
But yeah, it was Dame's cousin, man. So he was on the roster for 2 years. I'm sure he had a part in that, Justin.
It's fat. Like, I could understand if you were, let's throw out a team. If you were the Orlando Magic and you were like the Orlando Magic, you're like, hey, we could get LeBron James. Maybe the Orlando Magic is a bad example, but like, if you're Cleveland, you're like, hey, we can get LeBron back. And think about all the tickets we can sell and the amount of attention and everything. We get LeBron back. All we got to do is just draft Bronny, put him at the end of the bench, play him 5 minutes once a week.
Not even
even on a two-way deal, but like,
yeah, they're not even locked into him. Like, say he just gets drafted, he's gonna sign like a 2 or 3-year deal where like none of it's guaranteed. Like, Justin, it could literally be like hey, we're just gonna try this, and if it doesn't work, like, they could move off him so fast. You can move off rookies very fast.
But you can't, though, if that rookie is the son of LeBron James,
sure,
who probably is not going. Like, I know that there's nothing in sports that should surprise us anymore, but this whole thing is kind of nuts, isn't it? Like, the fact that there is going to be a team that of the caliber of the Los Angeles Lakers, arguably with the Celtics as the greatest franchise in NBA history. Like, it's the Celtics and it's the Lakers. After that, take your pick. But those are the two greatest franchises in NBA history in terms of consistent success over and over and over again. And the Lakers, just to hold on to 40-year-old LeBron James, which, again, a credit to what LeBron James and his drawing power, is going to be willing to draft a guy that
5 points a game on 37% shooting.
On a Pac-12 team with a losing record. Like, USC's not good.
Might be the end of Andy Enfield, that's for sure.
Well, because Andy Enfield, like, it should have been the end of him a couple years ago, and then they got Bronny.
That's true.
Right?
And Isaiah Collier. Justin, the sad thing is, like, let's strip it away. He's not even the best player on his college team.
I
like,
understand.
Isaiah Collier is a dude. There's a reason that guy's going to be first rounder, but I'm sorry. It's like, if he was not last name James, let's just.
I know, that's why it's
for the sake of argument, let's just say that, maybe LeBron hadn't been married the whole time. LeBron, like many other NBA players, had, different kids with different wives.
Happens, yeah, I know
right?
what you mean. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this was Bronny Johnson. But we all knew, like, he took his mom's name, but we all knew it was LeBron's kid. Is the fact that he is just James, like, it's I think you're right. I don't think he'll ever get a fair shake. But I'll say this, Justin. How do those guys who do follow, how does, like, Gary Payton II get a fair shake? His dad was a Hall of Fame point guard, right? Mm-hmm. I think about, like, even Steph, Del Curry was still a solid player. He wasn't all NBA like Steph is, but you know what I mean? It's like there have been cases of Jaren Jackson Jr.
But that's what I'm talking about, right? For years and years and years, right, in entertainment and in media, Nepo babies got the leg up. They got the opportunity. Gary Payton II, even though it did not work out well here in Portland, dude had to go to the G League for a while. He didn't just get a roster spot because his dad was Gary Payton. He had to prove it. Steph Curry, massive criticism coming into the league. He's too small. He's not going to be able to shoot as much. He's a ball hog, all that stuff. He didn't just get a spot because he's Del Curry's kid. He ultimately became the greatest shooter of all time. We may be seeing that skewed. Started with Giannis's brother, who is clearly getting a roster spot because he's Giannis's brother, and it really hasn't proven it. And maybe it's Bronny James. All right. Blazers, they take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've got Anthony Edwards to deal with tonight. He dropped 40 on him the other night. How do they contain him? How do they go moving forward with this team? Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report, a great post the other day on the Rose Garden Report about how Blazers got to find their Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Paolo Banchero, and is that person even on the roster? We'll talk to Sean coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Blazers back at it tonight. They'll be once again taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves at Moda Center, 7 o'clock tip time. Then get ready for the All-Star break. And joining us now on the big show from the Rose Garden Report, Oregon, Sports Writer of the Year? Sports Writer of the Year is on this program? Very pumped to welcome back to the big show. It's been too long. Sean Highkin back on the show. Good morning, Sean. How are we doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Got a lot of stuff to chat with you about as kind of there's with the Blazers, right? And I know you kind of mentioned it on your podcast that you had yesterday, where like there's the day-to-day stuff and then there's the big picture stuff. And I feel like kind of where Blazers fans are is kind of always kind of jumping back and forth between day-to-day stuff, like what's Scoot's development like, and then kind of the big picture stuff. And also you put it on your post, which I thought was fascinating, is this rebuild is all well and good, but it kind of hinges on finding that guy, whether it's an Anthony Edwards, a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or Paolo Banchero. And right now with Scoot and Shaden, we don't quite know if either one of those guys are that guy. You cover the league, Sean. You look and saw kind of the development. Is there things that you see from both either Scoot or Shaden and that you kind of see potential of those guys popping like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like an Anthony Edwards, guys?
I think they both have the talent to do it. It's just a matter of, are they going to be in the position to, be able to, do it consistently to the point where, that's, you look at like what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has become, where that's a little bit of an extreme example where he's arguably the MVP front runner this year. So like it's probably unrealistic to expect any young guy to develop into that, because there are very few guys in the league who are that. But I think Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp both have they have the talent, they have the upside, but just, doing the math and just, like, running the numbers, it's probably pretty likely that the person that whoever is going to be the face of the Blazers' next rebuild, that they're going to be really looked at as contenders, is probably not on the roster right now. And so then it's just a matter of, do they find that guy in the next draft or the draft after that, or do they somehow trade for that guy, which, those types of guys don't really become available in trades, especially on the age curve and, in a way that would make sense for a rebuild. So there's a ways to go for this rebuild to get where it needs to go, even though there are some of the ancillary stuff like finding some of the role players going pretty well. But it's just like the most important thing is something that I don't think has been resolved yet.
Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Sean, it was a week and a day ago. The NBA trade deadline came and went. The Blazers were not active at all. Well, I guess they brought in one guy from Boston for cash considerations. But for the most part, a lot of people thought, well, Brogdon is going to be maybe on the move. Maybe there's some other potential moves there. They stood pat and kind of looking ahead, and I've asked a couple of people this, like, what do you think the plan is? We're in a rebuild. We get that. We understand that. But looking ahead into the future without moving Brogdon, keeping a backcourt clogged, even though an elbow injury is kind of unclogged that, what do you think is the plan here with the Blazers moving forward? Because a couple of months left in the season, and then kind of the work continues into the offseason.
Well, how clogged is the backcourt with, like you said, Brogdon has the elbow injury, and then also Shaden Sharp, who is somebody that going forward is going to need to get a lot of those minutes. He's going to be out for we're about a week removed from him having the core muscle surgery, so at least 5 more weeks then. They said 6 weeks in the timeline, so I don't think it was very surprising that they didn't trade Brogdon at the deadline, considering what the trade market was. When you look around the league, I think the only team that really traded a first-round pick was Dallas to get P.J. Washington, and so it's not even like a bunch of picks were being thrown around, and so they had these great offers that they just decided to turn down. I would expect something to happen with Brogdon this summer when it comes to maybe trading him for when you consider like what the offers probably were that were out there at the deadline, those same offers are probably going to be there in the summer. So I think they just felt like they still wanted to keep him around as a veteran presence for this season. I don't expect that he's going to still be here next season. So I don't for all the panic about them not having a plan and them not trading him, I think something is very likely going to happen with him this summer.
Well, and that's where I know what you're saying about, like, as we sit here right now, you got Malcolm Brogdon injured, Shaden out for the foreseeable future. First off, I'd be very surprised if he comes back and plays. I mean, just looking at the schedule and looking at where the Blazers are, and I still look at maybe potentially kind of shutting down the season. Do you think that's in the future? Because we've seen that, obviously, the last 2 years. Different situation, though, because now Dame is gone and it is a full-on rebuild. But when you look at kind of the position that the Blazers are in, is there a potential that they go once again last couple months or last couple weeks of the season in full-on tank mode?
When you say you'd be surprised if he plays again, are you talking about Brogdon or Shaden?
Shaden. I'm talking about Shaden.
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Okay.
I don't know if he's necessarily going to be done for the season. That was my thought, too, but something that has been pointed out to me is that something that they figured out when Dame had this core muscle surgery, because the surgery that Shaden had, for those that don't know, is the same one that Dame had during the 21-22 season that caused him to miss most of that season. But something that they learned, and they know some other guys have had that, Nasir Little had it, Gary Payton II had it, they kind of figured out that inactivity is actually the worst thing for it in terms of the recovery. So I think if they get to the 6 weeks and everything is going well with Shaden as far as his where he's at in his recovery and everything is progressing and he's cleared medically, I think they might want to just get him back out there for the last 5 to 10 games of the season. I don't think that's a crazy thought at all for them to maybe do that. And honestly, let's say they do decide to, as you mentioned, go full tank. I don't think they would do it to the extent that they did maybe the last 2 years, where they literally were playing, their entire rotation was 10-day guys that they just signed to have enough healthy bodies. Like, last year they had a lot more veterans that you could, whether it was Dame, Nurk, Jeremy, whoever, that you would have to shut down in order to do that. If they decide to, quote-unquote, go full tank, like you said, they're not shutting down Scoot because he's a kid. He needs the reps. If Shaden is healthy, they'd like to get him those reps. They'd like to get Tumani Kamara or Jabari Walker or, all these guys that have been playing, even though they've been playing while they're quote-unquote not tanking, those guys need to play. And so I don't think it's really as much of a thing as shutting guys down, because, they've been losing games plenty with all their guys healthy. I don't think they need to change anything about what they're doing in order to get to where they need to get to in the lottery.
Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. I know Chauncey Billups mentioned it after the game on Tuesday that moving forward that there's going to be more and more situations where Scoot and Anthony Simons are going to be in the backcourt together. And that's kind of, Sean, always been my biggest question. And, I'm far from a basketball expert. I far from an X's and O's expert, but it seems to me that Anthony Simons and Scoot Henderson both like the ball in their hands, both seem to be comfortable with the ball in their hands, and if they are going to have a pathway together, that something is going to have to change. And I know they talked that Chauncey Billups talked about it after the game, but do you think moving forward with this team, is there a future with Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons both in the backcourt?
That's what they're trying to figure out right now. I don't think there's been a hard decision made one way or the other as far as, we're definitely keeping both of these guys long-term, or we're definitely not keeping both of these guys long-term, and this is the one that we're going to maybe eventually move off of. I don't think they really, just because of the timeline of the rebuild, I don't know if they necessarily feel like they have to make that decision this summer or even, at the next trade deadline. I think they could, if they really wanted to, they could string it out another year and see what it looks like for another full year of those guys playing together. If it works, then great, they can move forward with it. If it doesn't, then they are going to have to make a decision on which of those guys they keep and which one they don't, and how that goes. But I don't think that. I think that's something like, as of right now, it's so early in the idea of the two of them playing together, between the two of them having their various injuries that have caused them to miss different parts of the season, that I don't think they feel like they have enough information to make a decision on that one way or the other. And that's why what Chauncey said after the last game is that you're going to see a lot more of them together just to see if it works or not.
Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. One last thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, Sean, and that's DeAndre Ayton. When the move was made, I liked the gamble. DeAndre Ayton and Phoenix, it wasn't working out. There was obviously issues there, but it seemed as though still young enough, still a lot of potential, still a lot of talent, and you see it in spurts every once in a while, and obviously it's got to be in a tough spot, being on a team that's got 15 wins, and that reality kind of sinking in that it's going to be a big enough journey for a guy like DeAndre Ayton. But I thought after the injury, after the ice storm thing where his Ferrari couldn't make it up the driveway, which I think we all kind of dealt with that, feels like he's kind of figured some things out. When you look at the potential rest of the season and then into the future, where are you with DeAndre Ayton? Is he a huge, big piece of this Portland rebuild?
As of right now, he is, because the way you have to look at it is, either he is or he's not, and you have to get someone better. He's one of those guys where, like, is he to the level where you look at him and you say, this is definitely our franchise center for the next 10 years? I don't think he is. The consistency stuff and the other stuff with him, I think, would prevent that. But he's also good enough that you can't exactly just go out and get someone else who's as good as him very easily. Like, when you're talking about, like, upgrading on him, very quickly you get into the tier of centers that are just never going to be available, like the absolute top of the league. So it's one of those things where, like, I think just because that's the spot he's in, I think they right now are, it's the same quandary they kind of had with Yusuf Nurkic for however many years. Like, maybe he has his flaws and he's it's not perfect, but it's like you can't very easily just go get someone that's better than him just by saying, okay, we need to upgrade that spot. There's not that many guys in the league that really fit that category, so I think they kind of have themselves in the same position with Ayton right now. And to his credit, like you said, once he got back from the knee injury and the ice thing, it's been like he's playing his best basketball of the season this last 2 or 3 weeks so far. Like, that's I think one of the interesting things about the rest of the season and after the All-Star break is he going to sustain that? Is he going to do that the whole rest of the season? And if he does, then they can feel a lot better moving forward about, okay, this is our guy at that position. We've got that figured out. But that's, we'll see how the next 2 months goes until the season's over.
You can follow Sean on Twitter at Highkin. You can subscribe to the Rose Garden Report. Links right there on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Hey, Sean, thanks so much. Fantastic stuff. Really appreciate your time. Have a terrific day. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
There you go. Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report. And, I mean, that's the big question, right? Is Scoot that guy? Is Shaden that guy? And the problem is we got a lot of numbers. We got a lot of analytics. We got a lot of statistics. There's no way of knowing. Did the Los Angeles Clippers know it with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Probably not, because if they knew what he could become, they're never trading that guy for aging Paul George. That's not. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. I said that when Tyrese Halliburton got traded from the Kings for Domantas Sabonis, it was one of the few, like, hey, this works out great for both, because the Kings made a run into the postseason, lighting the beam and everything else, and then Sabonis was kind of that piece that they needed, and Halliburton has thrived. But you look at guys that Sean mentioned in his article, right? There's Anthony Edwards, there's Paulo Banchero. The only way you're getting one of those guys, guess what? First round, number 1 overall pick. And even then, it's not an exact science because DeAndre Ayton was one of those guys. Then you look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Number 11 pick. His number 11 pick. Tyrese Halliburton, 12 overall. Both to teams that didn't really have a spot for him. Is Scoot that guy right now? I think the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander part of this is kind of what is fascinating because it's clear the Clippers didn't know what they had, and they traded him away. And right now, with Scoot, I don't know if the Blazers know what they got yet. And he mentioned it, right? Maybe probably not going full-on tank mode. The plantar fasciitis, the right knee soreness, the contusion. I mean, we'll know it when we see it. But it's fascinating to know if, like, you think the Blazers have got that guy on the roster? Is it Shaden? Is it Scoot? We've seen Anthony Simons for 5 years. We know it's not him. We know Ant's a good player. Could be a contributor. But he's not alpha. He's not a superstar. And that's fine. But you can do all of the tanking, ping pong balls, picks, swaps, luxury, first apron, second apron, you know, all that stuff, right? You don't find a guy, a number 1, a superstar, something that you cannot statistically figure out. It's just, whoa. We knew Anthony Edwards was good. Do we know he was this good? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander might be the MVP, which, by the way, one particular radio host called that back on opening day. I know there was some uproar in Sacramento when they traded Tyrese Halliburton away, but it was like, we need some. And now Pacers, they're like, yeah, we got our guy. And then sometimes they just aren't the guy. That's why this whole thing drives you nuts, right? There's no blueprint. It's like, oh, are they on the Oklahoma City blueprint? Well, the Oklahoma City blueprint was finding one of the greatest diamonds in the rough maybe in the last 5 to 10 years. Because nobody saw that one coming. Yep, good luck with that. All right. We have got the, what are we doing? RCM mailbag? Is that how we do it? Is that how we close up every show? We only do it each and every day, Myers. That's coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the show. Before we get to the RCM mailbag, I know not a big deal to me, but I know it's a big deal to a lot of you. Brendan, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the internet the last couple of minutes, but it is now official. According to a post from EA Sports,
I did see this.
college football video game coming out this summer. It's official. It's coming out. It's happening.
About time. About darn time. Had that Xbox.
What was it last year, like 2014?
2014, 10 years ago. I played that game. I still have like 12 Oregon State National Championships, baby. So let's go.
Built a Beaver Dynasty.
But yes, I was been waiting on this. Like Justin,
Where does this rank? Because I'm not a video game guy. Where does this? Because it's been gone for 9 years, and I think obviously leads to some of the lore that it's gone and the anticipation. But like, where does EA Sports College Football rank in like sports video game history?
For me, it's my favorite of all time.
Favorite of all time,
and it's not even close. And it's only because it was the first game, NCAA 06 with Desmond Howard on the front, that I got when my parents finally let me have a game system. And I say finally because it took a lot of begging to get a PlayStation 2 in the house, because it was, Brandon's just going to spend all day gaming. My dad loved to say he's all thumbs. You're sitting there gaming all day. And he didn't even know what was going to be coming down the pike and Twitch and all this stuff nowadays. But yeah, Justin, I put in so many hours to that game. Like 2K was later. Madden was later. Like that was my game first. And I remember when they made a college basketball video game. That was awesome for like 3 years. They even made a college baseball video game for like 2 years. You know me, I'm a college sports guy, so I'm all about this. Bought the new Xbox specifically for this. So, yeah, I've been waiting on this for a hot minute.
It's coming out this summer. It's official. Full-on reveal, it says, in May, and then game is going to be available in the summer. So I can pretty much count on you being checked out all summer. You'll be gone.
It will be pre-ordered without a doubt.
It's like, Brenden, we have a guest. I would worry about guests later. I'm working on a college football playoff run here. We got conference. Are they going to have conference realignment in there?
You could do that in the 2014 video game. So you could like move around teams conference. So I would imagine.
Yeah, but what if like you're playing and then all of a sudden like in dynasty mode and they're like, hey, 2 of your conference, they're leaving.
They should.
And
absolutely. Make it realistic, baby. Let's go.
All right, let's get to the mailbag.
For you, Justin, it was Street Fighter 2? Was that your video game?
Street Fighter 2 was my jam.
You'd ride or die for?
Pretty much an expert at Street Fighter 2. That was my jam. That was the last game that I was somewhat addicted to. I dabbled in Madden. Tecmo Bowl was the video game that I played as a kid a lot. But you had to play with you had to put rules. Like, was there a game where you had to make secondary rules? Because we would play Tecmo Bowl, and we had to. Bo Jackson was so good, and Lawrence Taylor was so good. We had to make rules that we're going to start. Can't be Bo Jackson. No,
I did
because if you were the Raiders, it was too good. You couldn't stop him.
2K is kind of that way because they make LeBron, Steph, and MJ so bleeping good. Like my buddy and I will say that.
You still play with Jordan on 2K?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. No, all-time Bulls, baby. That's a great roster.
Oh, NBA Jam.
Yeah.
NBA Jam is if you ask me favorite sports game of all time, it's NBA Jam.
There it is. Yeah. There it is.
I remember that was the only bummer about that one was Michael Jordan was like, "Yeah, I'm not in your game."
They clearly figured it out, but yeah.
At some point they did, but at the orig NBA Jam. Because it was 2-on-2.
Sure.
The Bulls were Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. It was like, wait.
Like, we're missing.
Because it was like Jordan was like, yeah. You give me the money.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I know that you're not, but let's just say I get the game and I brought my Xbox to you.
Yeah.
Would you play?
I would, but I would be so bad.
Or would you deny? It might be fun for the audience, Justin, get a little Oregon State, college football
on
game.
Twitch?
Yeah,
I would get destroyed.
Well, I mean, I haven't played in 10 years.
I don't even know.
We could work on it.
I don't have the dexterity nor the patience to be a gamer.
I'm no expert, but the Ducks will be a lot better than the Beavers in this next college football video game, so that could be the advantage you need. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and fire up the mailbag today, Justin. Ooh, let's see. What is worse, slow internet or TV not working?
TV not working. TV not working is the worst.
They are kind of two of the same hole these days.
It's all by the same company in my house. You know who you are. I don't need to name names.
Point fingers.
Starts with an X, ends with Affinity. But yeah, when the TV's not working, when the DVR or gets like overwhelmed and you start, it's not the spinning wheel of death, it's the three dots of death. And it's like, oh man, that is my nemesis because there's no getting out of it. Like, I guess slow internet probably the same way, but yeah, when you sit down and you're like so looking forward to like watching this game
it's true.
or watching this show, and I've got everything planned up, and it's like, and it's not working, or like when you've got it DVR'd and then like the DVR malfunctions or something, and it's like, is it streaming anywhere? Like that is the first world problems. I understand, but I live in the first world, so sorry about it. That drives me nuts. Drives me bananas.
Yeah, yesterday, actually, case in point, Justin, I got home and I, had half hour, 45 minutes to eat and watch TV before I started on to my next project on the afternoon, and just went home and HBO Max would not load and had to do the whole reset the router thing.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, really? I just want to watch 20 minutes of Succession. Like, come on now. So, yeah, it's I don't know if there's anything worse, Justin, than when technology doesn't work.
Well, and again, I've said this. My nightly routine is Jeopardy every night. I watch Jeopardy every night. I look forward to watching Jeopardy every night. And Jeopardy is something like, if the DVR skips, like I just missed 3 questions. What's going, like, and I get mad and I start yelling and Kelly gets real embarrassed even though nobody's there. All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report. Thanks to super producer Brenden. And thanks to all of you for hanging out with us. It's a Fancy Coffee Friday. Tomorrow, we'll talk to you then here on 620 Rip City Radio.